r/AskReddit, who was the biggest asshole you have ever met? My mom's abusive boyfriend we lived with for 2 years. Guy was one of those fake pillar of the community pricks in public, but behind closed doors he was a monster. He finally got his comeuppance when my mom didn't call the police during one of his tirades, but instead called the pastor of his church, who happened to show up minutes later. His social standing was fucked, and we moved out right away, scarred but still alive. Fuck that guy. The older guy my friends and I were hanging out with. He told me, "I have $10 right here if you touch my dick." I was 11. I lost my dollar for the bus ride home and was asking around. I just walked home, totally disgusted and feeling like I had dirt all over me. Worst feeling in the world. Biggest asshole I ever met was actually a Canadian. Years back during her divorce, my mother rented a condo. No big deal. Job, easily affordable, etc. Set up through a realtor, so I flew into town to get her moved in. Landlord even called to introduce himself and gave his cell phone for any issues that came up. All seemed fine, except for his request that she provide a year's worth of signed rent checks for him to just deposit. Not in the contract and technically illegal, which I assume is why he made the request directly via phone, which she refused. Fast forward 2 or 3 months, and he claims to not have received a rent check. Weird, but it happens. So she cancels it and then sends a new one overnighted with signature service. Someone then tries to cash both checks. Next month, the mailed check miraculously doesn't arrive again, so she does the same, and again someone tries to deposit both. My mother has been keeping me appraised, so I helped her set up one of those payment services where her account is debited and a check is mailed out automatically. Lo and behold, they don't arrive again according to him. However, this idiot cashed them. Since the payment service knew they'd been cashed, we got not only the cancelled check back with his signature and account info, but they were able to obtain the surveillance footage from the ATM he used, showing not only his face, but his license plates. This goes on for months with him claiming the money is owed and threatening eviction and all this nonsense, despite us getting a cancelled check along with his ugly mug each month. My mother, being tough as nails, just ignored him and started looking for a new place, assuming he was bluffing and not that stupid. Hey, you can't try, I'm on free. My mother gets served with an eviction for non-payment and attorney's fees. We hatched a diabolical plot to let him hang himself. He had filed an affidavit claiming all this unpaid rent without knowing we had irrefutable proof he was lying. I had an attorney all lined up, but we held off on his notice of appearance until literally 10 minutes before the hearing. His shithead attorney tried to get a continuance upon realizing my mother wasn't pro SE, which makes me think he was in on the scam. It took the judge all of 5 minutes to go through the pleadings, strike his affidavit, and refer the matter to the state attorney's office. To cut a long story short, he ended up being ordered to pay my mother's legal fees and punitive damages, which the cunt welched on. Fortunately, my mother's attorney refused to let her pay a penny for his time. He was criminally charged with bank fraud, mail fraud, perjury, and some other stuff. Ended up being extradited from Canada and took a plea deal with fines and some prison time. Ryan. He's still on Reddit and hasn't helped me move the fridge yet. My step-in shit sister. She posts stuff on Facebook just to make people angry and then goes crying that she's a victim and that we should all feel sorry for her. She used me for that drama and got her birth mother in on it and then turned and did the same thing to her. Fuck you, L. I went to school with this guy and almost every day he would sneak into the girls' locker room. One day we told a teacher and instead of him admitting it, he blamed me and my friends. The authorities were contacted and every girl in the locker room had to testify against someone to the cops. I don't know how many years he got, but I hope he's still rotting. Edit. One of my friends looked him up online. Apparently he molested some of the girls, so he has a long time in prison. Didn't catch the exact amount. I lived with this old dude for 5 months. He is the worst person I have ever met. Housing is hard to come by in this town and he seemed nice enough when I first met him, but I did have a strange feeling about him. Should have gone with my instincts. He used to blow up if I left a single hair in the sink/shower. I tried explaining I'm a girl with long hair. Sometimes it falls out and I don't see. He needed to know if I was home every night, but it was fine when he disappeared for a week without saying anything. The only conversations he ever had were about how everyone else were idiots. You know, he never did anything wrong. He once scored me up, although he is a very short guy, so I just kind of looked down at him and laughed. Said to me, "You're just another fucking Australian in this town." The family my friend lived with found out I was living with him and got me out of the house immediately and let me stay with them until I found new housing, because they had dealt with him before and knew he was just a horrible human. And lastly, he didn't give me my bond back for the house and threatened to take me to court because per our verbal agreement I had to give him 2 months notice to move out. This asshole which parks in between 2 handicapped parking with his old ass Mercedes. Marcus Luttrell, the Marine that the movie Lone Survivor is about. He visited a hotel I worked at during football season. Granted, the prices skyrocket during game season and I definitely don't agree, but as a lowly desk worker, it's out of my hands. He asked if there was a veterans discount, and I told him that I apologize, but during the game season we are not allowed to grant any sort of discount without manager's approval. He says some rather rude things about how ungrateful I must be, that people died for my freedom to just stand there at work, and then farts at the counter, turns to the girl he is with and says, "That'll teach her." To this day, no adult has insulted me in such a degrading, childish way. My current boss. He is an old, rich, divorcee who takes pleasure out of insulting his employees. I unfortunately found myself in a situation where it appeared I was at fault, yet I hadn't done anything wrong. And after yelling at me, he said, "You have a long life ahead of you, along with a lot of failure." He's called other employees animals, stupid, and once told a worker to kill himself. I can't wait for the day where he suffers a heart attack and drops dead. A prick I used to work with. Skinny short guy with acne and glasses that was the biggest kiss ass I've ever met. Our boss encouraged us to call him by his first name. This prick would call him boss. I pointy, "You got it, boss," or "I'm a massive bellend boss, hope you still love me, boss." Anyways, we both got in at 7 and everyone else started at 8. It was a slow morning, so we were both on our phones playing Hearthstone. At 7:55 our manager came in. I didn't see, but the prick did. I got given a little heat for being in my phone, but it was nothing serious. Prick then proceeds to say, "Sorry boss, I tried to tell him to not go on his phone, but he wouldn't listen." Are you trying to get punched, little prick? The best thing about people like this is that 9 times out of 10 the boss knows they're a kiss ass and can't stand them. I live in Los Angeles, so pretty much the next person I meet. How? That was a great video. Who was the biggest asshole you have ever met? Leave it in the comments. Also, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more. Bye.